I'm not sure if we're live, but I'm going to pretend like we are. It does? Okay, good.
On my screen it does. So
it's so funny because when I use Zoom, I can't really tell
uh-huh.
if I'm live, but it looks like you might be. So it's really like a guessing game. It's kind of a fun guessing game.
Everybody send wave emojis if they can see us on.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead and wave and send hearts and likes if we're live.
Yeah, there you go.
I do believe we're live. So today I'm really honored to introduce to you guys Dr. Scarlett and David. And this is Linda West with Living Life. Things are a little off kilter today because my Be Live wasn't working. And then I'm totally in a different space, as you can see. You know, this background is totally different. I'm actually in my garage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I just have this little privacy screen. I put it up so I could have this really cool background. You should see this little office that I'm in. It's a makeshift office that my husband made for me so I could do my videos, but it's not ready yet. But he wanted me to, he has something he has to do in the house. So he wanted me to come out here and I'm like, okay, I'll just get it all figured out. So, you know, that's the beauty of, you know, working from home. I didn't have to drive anywhere and I got to work from home. But anyway, long story short. So this is Linda West with Living Live. And I'm going to have David and Dr. Scarlett introduce themselves because while they're introducing themselves, I need to share the link out to where we are to the people who are going to come watch us on Be Live. So go ahead and introduce yourselves. I'm probably going to disappear off the camera for a second. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go. I'm Dr. Scarlett Heinbuch, and obviously I'm one of the guests on the show. And just by way of background, my doctorate is in public policy with a master's degree in public health from VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University School of Medicine. And you know, so today we're here to talk about some of the alternative healing approaches I've worked with and used over a 25-year period, and one in particular that worked exceptionally well with David, which is really the core of our story. So I'm going to pause there and let David introduce himself.
I am David Schwartz, and thank you for having us today, Linda. And I am in financial services for the past 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm here to serve as a living testimony to Scarlett's fabulous healing powers, abilities, and intuitive senses, because I was on death's door, as it were, and she came into my hospital room and into my life and brought me back.
It just makes me emotional just hearing because what you said right there, you said a living testimony.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if you know you said that, but it's so true because you were on death's door and here this angel comes into your life.
Literally, yes.
Yeah, literally.
That's the way I describe her when telling the story myself, Linda, is that I woke up from a coma after 3.5 weeks of being on life support and having all my organs getting ready to shut down. And there was this person who I'd never seen before in the natural world, and knew that I was going to marry her, knew everything about her that was important. And that was a pretty interesting way to come back from death's door.
Oh, I bet. Well, now, David, did you know anything about, or did you believe in spirituality? Did you believe in, you know, the other worlds? Did you believe in any of that stuff before your coma?
Well, that's a great question. I've been a spiritual seeker. I'll put it that way. I certainly had no problem believing in a higher power. You know, we share in Scarlett shares in the book that I was in recovery, a 12-step recovery program, which I'm still active in, you know, after 14 years, and it just started down that journey. So yes, I did certainly believe that there was a power greater than myself. What form that was, I wasn't 100% sure of.
Right. That's really, really interesting because I'm wondering if that had anything to do with tapping into you, because if your mind is open, there's so many more possibilities out there for you to receive when they come across your path, you know. And so I'm wondering if that, just having that belief in a higher power, no matter what it was, or you weren't sure exactly what it was, I wonder if like that kind of opened the door. I don't know.
No, that's a great observation, and it probably has a lot to do with it. I will say that I was at such a low point, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. I was at such a low point in my life. I was probably pretty, ready to be receptive to to a restoring force. So that I'm sure that had a lot to do with it, because I basically had given up by that point in all ways. So the physical effects that I had, which were enough to take me out, I believe were just a physical manifestation of all the other maladies that I had, brought on to myself over the past, years.
Wow. And we hear that all the time, right? That our situations, the stresses that are in our lives, or the stresses that we allow to affect us, that sometimes they do come out in physical beings, as well as emotional. And sometimes they can cause maladies or, different kinds of diseases or what have you, if we let it really, really get to us and affect us. And do you think that that might be what put you into the hospital?
Absolutely. I was living so far out of integrity with the man that I wanted to be and who I knew I could be that my body just said, that's it. If you're not gonna, make this work, we're gonna force you to die with it.
It's really interesting, because I'm not, I don't want to say that I'm an intuitive, because I don't really know exactly what that means, but it's interesting for me right now, because for some reason there's something going on right now that's making me very emotional listening to you. And I don't know what it is, but I just, for some reason, thought I wanted to share that. And because if people see my eyes starting to like swell up or redden up, that's because there's some kind of interesting emotional connection that I have going on with you too.
Aww.
And it's weird because, like I said, I'm not an intuitive, but I might be intuitive in ways, Yeah. I'm not admitting to yet.
Well, there's a reason we're on your show, and it's your show, and
yeah,
we're all connected. So, we know that there is a tremendous reason. And just for any of your listeners, David had what was then diagnosed as Wegener's granulomatosis, which is a form of vasculitis. It's very rare. There are about 5 cases a year. 500, yeah, sorry. And it's
like worldwide.
Worldwide. Wow. It's usually fatal. And when people do survive it, they're usually permanently disabled and debilitated. It causes, in many cases, multi-system organ failure, but worse than that, it causes multi-system organ destruction, because it cuts off the blood supply and creates the granules that just destroy the organs. So when I actually met David's mother, I had never met David, but I met her at a recovery meeting, because she had flown in for the 3rd time. At that point, David had been unresponsive for 3.5 weeks. The hospital called her to come that day to come say goodbye. She said, they told her, if you want to see him alive and say goodbye, you need to get here today. I'll never forget her telling that story that night of her literally, she was in San Francisco. We're in Richmond, Virginia. So she got the call. Her partner got tickets for her. She was literally running down she was on vacation, and got to the airport running down, skipping, trying to get her sandals on to make it to the plane. And she got to the plane, got into Richmond, went to, and I'll call it out, St. Mary's Hospital here in Richmond, Virginia, and signed the funeral directives that day.
Actually, even to make that story even a little bit better, I will add to it that my father, who had arranged the plane, was actually standing at the jetway in the doorway of the plane, and physically was not letting them close the door to the plane until my mom.
Just like the movies.
Imagine it when today's travel, with today's travel, this was in 2005.
Yeah, so it's been a while, obviously, but so
they would have tackled him. They would have been like terrorists.
He's been taken out, but that's how desperate she was to come say goodbye to her son. And she'd flown again twice before. And with the recovery, she said her prayers. She had been in recovery for 30 years. She's fine. She's not with us on this plane any longer, but she was always very out about her recovery. And when I met her that night, something about her just touched my heart. And people that I had not seen in years knew David, and I didn't. And they were standing there crying. And I thought, wow, this must be a really great guy. And and I felt really, really touched. And I'm a mom, and at that time I was a single mom. I was struggling to make ends meet. Both of my boys had disabilities. One had severe ADHD and the other had epilepsy. And I was going to school because I couldn't hold a full-time job. So I was in my doctoral program, hoping to make a difference in how kids are treated. And that's another story. And so I just thought how it would feel. And I had studied so many things because of my kids. So when I went when David's mother said, he wasn't going to make it, and they didn't expect him to survive the night. When I went up to her, I was going to say, hey, I'm sorry. But what came out of my mouth was, I don't think you should give up hope yet.
Wow.
And I put that in yeah, exactly. And that was her response, was like, you're not comprehending what I'm saying. And I told her, I said, listen, I can't promise anything. I don't even know why I'm saying this, but if you would like me to go see your son, assuming he's still there tomorrow, I will go see him. And I told her I did Reiki, that I'd studied in that. And she, being from California, understood that. And she, to a point, but she wasn't that familiar with energy work. And
I'm going to stop you right there for a second. For those who don't know what Reiki is, can you maybe just explain what that is?
Yes, it's universal love energy, and you work with it through your hands. So you're trained in certain hand positions, and you're also working with the body's energy field. So sometimes you don't even actually touch the person, although with, there's combinations of healing touch, therapeutic touch, Reiki. All of these are healing energy modalities. So I had got my master's after 7 years, a mastership in Reiki, and I've taken it very seriously and worked with many people, but nobody is critically ill as David. And so when I walked into his room the next day, he was actually still there. I called the hospital and he was still alive, and I took that as a sign to go. And I had never met him before. I had never seen anybody in kidney failure. And so he was extremely bloated. He had a feeding tube in his nose. He had the ventilator in his mouth breathing for him. He had a central line in his neck with, 20 IV bags hanging. He was in the cardiac care unit because his heart rhythm was out. He had blood clots. He had sepsis, and everything had shut down. He also had a chest tube because he still wasn't getting enough oxygen from the ventilator. And so then they said there was going to be brain damage if he even lived. And his kidneys were completely destroyed to the point that there was absolutely no urine in the catheter bag. So it was absolutely catastrophic. And we've talked to doctors since then who said that that's not survivable. None of this is survivable. And it wasn't until. So you
came along.
Well, and I didn't even know I was there because, there's one thing when you feel your heart, and you're talking about intuition, you feel your heart kind of guiding you along, but your mind is going like, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Your sensible self.
Right. I'm a serious PhD student. So, and a single mom, which meant I barely had enough gas money to drive to the hospital. But I went. And when I saw David, my heart just flooded with compassion. Even though we hadn't met, I had a feeling like, oh, gosh, what happened? What happened to this man? And so my mother is a retired nurse, and she always said when people are in coma, they can hear what you say, and you need to be very careful what you say. And she also advised me to talk to David out loud as though he were awake. So that's what I did. I introduced myself, told him I was there because I met his mother and other people, and he had a lot of people who loved him, and he might have some unfinished business. And if he wanted to stay in this life, I was here to come work with him. If he wanted me to, it was his choice. But if he didn't, if he was ready to go and cross on, then to know that he was totally loved, and there was nothing he could ever have done that his higher power didn't love him. And he needed to know that, because I could feel his feelings even before we even did the connection. And so I asked permission to work with them, and I felt a little whoosh of air, and then took his hand. They had the pulse oximeter on. He had IV lines and so I had to be very careful. So I began working with him and did all the Reiki head to toe as much as you can in an ICU, trying not to dislodge anything. And I wasn't really getting much response. And I thought, he's made the decision to cross on and go. And as I was getting ready to leave, I said a prayer. I'm Christian, David's Jewish, so I'm respectful of anybody's faith, or even if they don't have one. Reiki is not religious based; it's universal spiritual energy. So I told him that I was going to leave, but I told him I'd make him a deal. If he decided he wanted to stick around, I would make a commitment to come back and see him through this. But if he decided not, it was okay to go, knowing you're completely loved.
Well, let me ask you, how much time did you spend up to that point?
About 20 minutes.
That's it? 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's about, it doesn't take that long and to do a session, and particularly when someone's that ill,
Okay. Well, I want to just check in. My computer's way over there, so it's kind of weird that my setup. Actually, I'm just looking at a little dot in the wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I cannot see you guys at all, except.
Oh my gosh.
We look great, by the way.
Yeah, we look good.
We look fantastic.
I'm a professional. I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, so let me see here. We've got Lori. Welcome, Lori. We have Kara. She says, Kara says, there is an echo. Is it just me? I don't hear an echo. Do you guys hear an echo?
I don't.
Okay, and then Patty, love it. She says that you're not admitting to. I'm not sure what she meant by that. We will get you the name of the book in just a minute, Patty. Thank you for asking. Kara said the echo was on her side. Got it fixed. Awesome. Hi, Tamara. Good to see you. And you guys, if you think this story is, interesting, which I think is amazingly interesting, please share this video out. We want to get this, just get this story out to as many people as possible, because it truly is, when you hear what happens next, especially, you're going to be like, what? And so the name of the book is Waking Up to Love. And if you're interested in getting the book, and Patty, I know you'll do this for me, because Patty always goes and types in my URLs for me. So to find the book, go to livinglive.tv/waking up. And again, that's livinglive.tv/waking up. But please listen to the story before you head out there to get the book.
We've got the cover of the book up also right now, so people can see what it looks like.
Do what?
We've got the cover of the book up right now so people can see it.
We're holding it up so that they can see it. So.
You are?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's delayed on here. Okay, now they're holding up the book now.
Okay, well,
it's funny because it's delayed. Yeah, Waking Up to Love, and it's livinglive.tv/waking up. And you can get the book. It's such a beautiful cover. And what is the byline there, or whatever you call that, subtitle?
Our shared near-death encounter brought miracles, recovery, and second chances.
Yeah, so now you're going to hear about the next thing, like the next day. So here you are. You're like, David, I know, like, you can't hear me, you can't talk to me, but David, if I'm going to make a deal with you. If you want me to come back, I'll come back, right? If you're still alive, I'll come back. And so
pretty much.
Okay, so let's hear like what happens next. Oh, yeah, actually, up until this point, David, you aren't aware of anything going on. Is that correct?
Nope.
At this point, we've been there 3.5 weeks and unresponsive to, and paralyzed on one side, in addition to everything else. It was just, like I said, catastrophic. So what did happen that day was I took his hand to say goodbye like this, and my hand was fused to his. I couldn't quite pull it away. And I realized his spiritual energy was reaching out. And that's when I repeated and said I'd be back. So he survived the night, obviously. I went in and worked with him the next day, and I went again. And on Sunday, he started to produce urine. His kidneys were starting to show function. So the nurses were a little surprised.
Well, how long had they not shown any function for the whole 3 weeks, or was that like part of the shutting down process?
Yeah, pretty much in the beginning. When he went to the hospital, his lungs were shutting down. He couldn't breathe, and he thought he was having a panic attack because he couldn't catch his breath and his heart was racing. When in fact he was going into respiratory arrest and didn't know it. And then the kidneys shut down, and then he's been in this total organ failure for three plus weeks at that point.
Wow.
So when I came back, I continued working with him, and about the 5th day, I was holding his hand, beginning to say my prayer and do my work with him. And the next thing I know, I am out of my body. I'm not at his bedside holding his hand. I am in another place, another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way I can describe it is a world of love, every kind of love that you can possibly imagine. People call it unconditional. It's almost impersonal. It's just love. It's just amazing love. And it was like white light dots. Like I call it liquid love, but it's not wet. I don't even know how to describe it to this day, except that I was standing there holding David's hand there on that dimension. And that's when I knew that I may not have met him in this lifetime, but I knew everything about him too. And I loved him. I knew that I'd always loved him, that this was an eternal type of love. And I knew that he had a choice to make, whether he was going to cross over or come back, because he was about gone. And I just knew this love, and it was so profound, so enormous. And then I don't even know exactly how long it lasted. It wasn't long, but then I'm back in my body at his bedside, holding his hand. He still had not responded. And I'm like, what just happened here? How could this be the love of my life? And I have never met this man, and he's dying. And what? And
yeah.
It was just like, is this some sort of crazy joke? What's going on here? So,
was there anybody else in the room with you at that time, or was it just you?
No, the nurses at that point were being very respectful of my time with David, just because he was starting to respond.
Right.
His kidneys were starting to respond. He was
Wow.
starting to show recovery. They were calling him Miracle Boy at the hospital, the doctors, nurses, the whole staff. So yeah, because he was
one of my
Miracle Man.
Yeah, one of my nurses told me I was the sickest guy in the hospital.
So I continued working with him, and we had some other very, very unusual experiences. One that took me 12 years to write the book and put in there. But David's kidneys are perfect today. There's no medical explanation why. However, when I had gone home one night, I was so tired. I worked with him, and in my mind's eye, I saw myself in his room, from my room at the hospital, and there were 4 beings, and they were like blue colored, looking like a medical healing angel team, but just colored blue. And they were working on David, and they actually were replacing his kidneys. And I'm watching this wondering, well, am I dreaming? What am I seeing here? And then, and when I thought, well, maybe I'm just witnessing something, the being that I'll call like the lead healer looked up and like made eye contact in my mind's eye and nodded his head at me like, we got this. And I thought, okay, I must be dreaming. The very next day, I looked back, and David's kidneys were really going on to high function. And he continued to improve dramatically, so that within the time I walked in the door to up till 12 days, I worked with him twice a day, going morning and night, working with him, doing music, and he was back up on his feet in 12 days, kidneys functioning, breathing on his own. It's a documented medical miracle. There's no medical explanation for any of it.
Wow. And so when you were out of your body, is that the saying?
Yeah.
When you were out of your body, from what you remember, did you actually feel like you were holding his hand? Like, did you feel, or was it just, that's so interesting. So why do you think this happened? Why? Because we often ask, why was I saved? Why, so why David, let me ask you, why do you think that she came into your life? Why do you think this happened?
I get asked that all the time. It's something we ask those of us that are in recovery, in long-term 12-step recovery, ask that question a lot. Why did I get it? Why did my friend, hang himself or not make it? Really, there's no way of knowing the answer to that question. I was in the right place at the right time. It was obviously fated to be. Somehow there was I always said that I came to Richmond, Virginia from Spokane, Washington. I always thought to get a job because I needed work. I'd been out of work for 15 months and needed something. Was just trying to get back on my feet. trying to make something happen, and I got a job. And I thought I came to Richmond for work, but really, obviously, I came to Richmond to find Scarlett. And so just the fact that waking up in a hospital bed, having no conscious of what had happened while I was in a coma, but yet setting eyes on this woman who, here it was, this angel who I knew that I was in love with, that I knew that I was destined to be with. I don't know. I don't know why I got lucky. But, what I have taken away from that is because I did get that second chance. I work very hard to be a good example to others, to my kids, to anybody that will listen about how to do things a little differently and maybe make a little bit more positive impact in the world rather than just taking up space.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because when I hear that, I was talking to Scarlett, I think last week or the week before, and when I heard the story, I immediately connected with, that shows in my mind, that really shows that we are all just spiritual beings. And sometimes we're here on this plane and sometimes we're in other planes. And when we're in the other planes and we're in that conscious level that we're allowing ourselves to be in the other plane, that you guys just happened to meet somebody while you were there. Now, I had an out of body experience once, and I didn't meet anybody, but I was hovering over an entire crowd of 3,500 people. And it was just so interesting that I was out there, I was looking, I was like, this is amazing. And then I said, whose event is this? It happened to be my event. And then boom, right when I said, whose event is this? Boom, I was back in my body. And it was just so surreal to be like, I was somewhere else. I literally was somewhere else. And so maybe there's just a bunch of other, people that are out there at different times, and they happen to connect. Sometimes they collide, and sometimes they don't collide with anybody. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I just can explain my experience,
Well, there's lots of altered states of consciousness, and people who've had near-death experiences. David was having a near-death experience. He was dying, and he was getting ready to leave this life. Where what happened for me, and what makes this, it was out of body, but what makes it a shared near-death is because I was able to go in and where he was on the dying end of it. I was there with him as he was getting ready to die. And he made that decision to come back. Now he always says, well, I brought him back, and said, well, you chose to.
Right.
But that's what makes it a shared near-death encounter. And what's so unusual is that that's where our spirits met and we met. And so when he woke up physically, I'm having the conscious memory of all of that and seeing, I love this man who's a stranger and who's still deathly ill. I'm not sure if he's going to survive, and questioning everything. And then we got together, and then David got sick again and nearly died again from the medication and double pneumonia on top of everything. And I had to learn a lot of hard lessons about love and what love is. And love isn't selfish. It is about letting go. It is about being what it is and being grateful. If you even get a day, if you even get an hour of that kind of love, that's a blessing. And I had to learn to be grateful and accept that I was going to get what I was going to get. And it might be a day. It might have been 3 weeks. And now we've had going on 13 years.
Congratulations. Lucky 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so true. Because love, if you experience love, like what true love is, then you can really appreciate, even if you only get a short period of time of it, because you got to experience it. And, I'm fortunate. My husband and I have been together for almost 30 years. And to have that, I know what a blessing that is. I truly know every day what a blessing it is to have love in my life, like true love, because so many people are without. And so to be able to experience it just for a short period of time, to have appreciation for the love that you were able to experience, I think is so important.
Yes. I have so much gratitude. I've been blessed with so many things in these past 12 plus years, seeing we have 4 kids between us, seeing our children grow up, graduate from high school. My oldest daughter was married last summer. I got to be there for that and walk her down the aisle. develop relationships with my stepsons, and and of course build the relationship with Scarlett. We just got an opportunity to travel to Europe together for the first time, and so just having the gratitude and realizing how lucky that I am. I know that I'm the luckiest guy on the planet. Or none. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, but
right.
I got a pretty strong claim. So,
well, I think it's perfect, right? Because we're really matched up with the person we're supposed to be with. So,
right.
so every person has that opportunity to feel like the luckiest person on the planet.
Right.
I got the best husband. No, I got the best husband.
That's right. And that's great. That's what you're right. Everybody should feel that way.
Yeah.
Really, absolutely.
There's an abundance of love. There's an abundance of love.
Right. And that doesn't mean that that you won't have challenges. We certainly had a lot of challenges to work through.
Yeah, boy, did you.
That were really tough, really, really hard. And we've done it. And we're on the other side of it now on many, many ways. And we're just really in the gratitude space. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book too. I was working in the mainstream financial services world as a senior level person and managing people, and I realized what I'm bringing is love, because people are so hungry for love everywhere. Everybody's struggling with something major, and my contribution is to help people just remember to be kind, love one another, help each other. And we're in a real tough world environment right now, and that's the other reason I wrote the book. Was one of the spiritual lessons we learned is that love is so amazing. There's no need to be selfish or believe in lack or fear. If you can understand that there's really a divine purpose or a soul purpose that we really have, and if that's too esoteric, that maybe there's a force in the universe that actually does love us. If people could even wrap their head around that, they might be a little more generous with one another. You might not feel like I've got to get mine, and they might want to realize mine is yours too. Let's really love one another and help each other out. This is what it's all about.
And one of the other things that people will get to understand when they read the book is that although Scarlett had a lot of these gifts and abilities when she was younger and before she met me, since she worked with me and since we came together,
since that death experience,
her intuitive healing abilities have become incredibly powerful, and that's borne out by her working with other people and some of the experiences that those other people have had.
Same people in different illnesses, but on death's door. And again, what happened for me is having that ability to actually go to where they are when they're getting ready to cross over and help them to return and have the bodies have full healing has happened now, 5 more times?
Yeah, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. And different things. And this is from somebody who had very rare, a young woman who had a stroke, a woman who attempted suicide, another person who had gallbladder surgery that went very wrong. All kinds.
What about any cancers?
Not really. Well, yes. Yeah. That was before I met David. I worked with somebody who had stage 4 cancer and worked with them, and they came out with totally cancer-free and have been in remission now for the past 15 years. Wow. David's illness, the Wegener's, is also treated like cancer. So David has been in remission for all these years. Like I said, most people who have this aren't. They're usually very debilitated and always on some sort of medications with really tough side effects. David's only medication or vitamin protocol that I had him on based on my research for my kids in the role of nutrition and fatty acids.
And lots of really good food, as your audience can see. I'm very well nourished.
So,
Patty has a question here. She says, Scarlett, have you had other experiences out of body again?
Yes. When I've been working at the bedside now, people dying, like I was saying, I have the ability to actually get out of my body and go where their spirit is.
Can you do it intentionally, or are you able to do that intentionally?
Yes.
Wow. Can you do it right now? Come over here.
I'll come visit. I'll rattle your cage there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Get my cage. I love it. That is so interesting. And then Jessica, hi Jessica, good to see you. She says, awesome story. Thank you for sharing it with us. And speaking of sharing, you guys, if you find this story to be very interesting, please share it out just to get the story out, because it's, you know, if you can agree with me, you know, this is a totally different kind of story. When I was talking to Scarlett about it, you know, last week or so, I was just listening with my mouth wide open, because I never heard anything like this before. You know, I've heard about people going and seeing the light and coming back, but I never heard about them meeting somebody while they were there and then coming back and like they know each other. That's because, you know, I believe their souls, right? Their souls met each other. And when you're talking about souls, there's no time. Time is non-existent. It's just is. You know, the souls are. And so when they met up, this is what I believe. This is just totally my own beliefs. When they met up, it was like an instant energy shift. Like they know each other.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. It was a surprise. Everything about the whole encounter was a surprise. But when I've worked with people, I've had all kinds of different situations and surprises. But this encounter was completely different.
Well, yeah, here you are married.
I mean, and that's it, you know, again, and I know I married up, so I'm pretty lucky. But if there's any takeaway that anybody would have when hearing about our story or knowing something about it, it's that there's always hope, right? You know, I was at a point in my life, Linda, where I was just expecting that this was it. I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to be someone who's not going to have any success in any sort of endeavor that I have. And then to have that catastrophic health crisis hit me as well. You know, if I can come back from that, if I can find my true love, my true companion, soulmate, twin flame, if I can have that happen, you know, then certainly there's hope and there's positive opportunities for lots of other people to have similar things happen. That's what we want to share, is just that it's out there. You know, if you have a belief and an intention and a desire, it can happen.
And it happened for us, you know, again, later in life too, because I had given up as well. At that point, I was just focused on my children, school, and I had given up on any kind of ever having a relationship because the children's needs were enormous. And I was really just struggling, trying to meet those needs and educate myself so I could contribute more and support us better. And you know, I was at that point, we don't mind sharing our ages. I was 45. So, you know, that you expect, well, you know, not the selection pool's gone way down.
I was really young. I was only 42.
Yeah. He's my child boyfriend.
You cradle robber, you.
So, but that's the point too. A lot of people in midlife who have been through some disastrous relationships, as I had as well. There's hope. There's hope. And that's one of the things I wanted to share too.
That's a great point. I know a woman, when I met her, she was 81, and her husband had died 25 years previously, and she never dated or anything, but there was this one man at the church that kept asking her out, and he was 84. So she was 81. And she kept saying, no, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go out. So finally, after about 3 years, she said yes. And they went out on a coffee date. You know, they just went to have some coffee. The next thing I know, like 3 months later, they're going on Caribbean cruise. They're going on cruises, all places. And then they ended up getting married when she was 85 and he was 88. He ended up passing at age 92. But she experienced love, like as we were talking about, even if it's just for a short period of time. She was at that age able to experience love, and she was giddy. Oh my gosh. She would come into the office because she worked with us. So she would come into the office, and you could just tell how much in love she was when she talked about it. You could see the sparkle in her eye that had probably been missing for 25 years.
Thank you. That's a great story. There was a woman that I used to play Scrabble with many years ago, and she was a retired Carmelite nun, and she was 76. And her children and the children of a man she went to high school with all those years ago got them together, and they ended up getting married when she was 76 and he was 76, and lived, had just an amazing love story. So those are the stories that we should be focusing on, because those are the things that really make make me believe that anything is possible.
Well,
Yeah,
love finds a way.
Yep.
Yeah. Like keeping hope, right? That there is hope for you. There is chance for you. I know I hear a lot of people when they hit like their 30s that, if they haven't had a love in their life, they're like, I might as well just give up now. There is no hope. But there really is, because you don't know what kind of circumstance you're going to be in. And then maybe that person you were supposed to fall in love with was right in front of your eyes, and you were just closed off and you didn't see them. So it's like, open up your heart, open up your mind to the possibility that there is love out there for you, because it is out there. Love is all over the place. Right, Patty? And Patty's like, she loves, she talks about love all the time. So it's amazing. So we have Diane, welcome, and Jimmy. And if you guys have any questions for Scarlett or David, go ahead and post them in the comments there. And so I'm speaking with Dr. Scarlett and David, and their book is called Waking Up to Love. If you're interested in checking out the book, go to livinglive.tv/waking up. And I put a link to it in the comments in Facebook. So check it out. So you guys, what's next for you?
Well, I just left my corporate job in January, and I've opened my own practice doing healing work with people. I'm also certified in hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming, and I use that. I also work with people who are grieving, who have lost somebody, because now that I can go to that other realm, I can help people. I can kind of hold that energy door open so that other people can have that experience for closure, sometimes just to say goodbye to somebody that has passed on. So, there's really no real separation except what we're able to perceive. And so I continue to learn and grow. David and I are speaking at the International Association of Near-Death Studies Conference in August and September. That's going to be in Bellevue, Washington. There are people all over the world who've had experiences, nothing, and they're all saying nobody has had the type of experience. We haven't found the benchmark for that, so I guess we're it. But because of these themes that keep coming up about sharing love, being more healing oriented, after effects for me included really boosting my healing gifts and that ability to enter other dimensions to help people heal. And David, again, his major after effect too was a complete healing.
I certainly have my intuitive sense, my sense of reading situations has definitely improved. One of the things that one of my things as far as what's next is I'm going to write a memoir of my journey to that place where Scarlett and I met, and how I got to that hospital room myself. And also I've been dabbling in various bits of artwork and stuff. And ultimately, I would also like to leave my corporate job when that becomes an option. And then we're going to spend a lot of time traveling and telling our story, just like we're doing today. So thank you. Thanks to everybody that's been watching and asking questions and listening today. It's been great.
And that's a great point right there, because if you are watching this and you're a person who does have your own show and you want to interview them, you can connect with them, or you can connect with me and I'll make the connection, just because the more that we can get their story out there, the better, just because it's just such an interesting story. And David, are you fully functioning now? You're taking some kind of...
I made a complete recovery. You're kind of breaking up a little bit, but I think you asked me about my
function.
Right now, I have my health is A1. The only negative effect I have is I did lose full hearing in my left ear. Other than that, I have no disabilities, nothing seriously wrong with me at all.
Linda, it looks like the screen froze a little bit. Can you hear us?
Oh, shoot. Okay, I think we're having a little bit of an internet connection problem.
Okay. Can you still hear us?
Hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So I was asking David, is that why you're sitting on that side of Scarlett?
No, actually, we have
say something?
Up to this point, we have been sitting on the other side, but she told me that this was her better side.
Yeah, this is my better side.
For
so
the camera.
vanity ruled today. So.
Thank you very much for having us.
There we go. There we go. Okay, so what happened? Can you?
It's breaking up, Linda. It's a little hard to. It's not. It's kind of frozen. We can't hear you now.
Oh,
now it can.
Darn.
Little pieces.
Okay, so I'm gonna finish up with a lot. Okay.
Finish with
Are
what?
you able to hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh darn!
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I'm going to assume you can hear me now, and I'm going to read this from there. Okay, yes, ma'am. Little internet, I love it. It's so much fun. Can you hear me?
No, not really. If you could
well, darn. If you guys, I know that they can't. Hold on a second. Let me check. Oh, okay.
Don't hear.
Okay, hold on.
Thanks.
Yeah, you know what? I can't hear you guys either.
Okay.
Bummer.
So, darn. Okay. Yeah, but they can't hear me.
Signing off.
Oh, wait. Oh, can you
Thank you.
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, sort of. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's still lagging.
Yeah, it's not working, Linda. Sorry.
Thank you.
Darn, I wanted to get this question out.
Oh, now I can hear you. What is it?
Okay. Well, shoot. You're welcome. If anybody can hear us.
What's the question?
Send it to us. Send it to us, and we'll answer it on. We'll answer.
They say we're not coming through.
If you send us the question, we can.
Okay, and it's actually in Facebook. Okay, so it's in the Facebook. I'll send you a link to it. The person asked the question in there. Okay, if you hear
me.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
At least it worked for most of the interview.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so I will end it. I'm going to reach out to you if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you still.